So, welcome everybody. Today's panel session is called 12 Danishes for the Price of One. And everybody loves a good deal, right? I think whether it's 2 for 1 or 12 for 1 sounds like a great deal. I think the way to kind of tie this all together is to think about the fact that pricing models evolve. I know for my business, we offer a service that's really meant to be a third option between subscriptions and interlibrary loan. And so in my role, I often take a look at pricing models for content, and particularly focusing on other content types. So pricing models for things like movies and music have been evolving a lot in recent years. Even pricing models for cars and scooters have been evolving. So the thing that they all have in common, though, is that there is a price tag. But as these models evolve, what you get for the price you pay is what's been changing. And so in that context, I think just focusing on the price and nothing else can be deceptive. I think it's important to take a look at what do you get for the price that you're paying. So you might think that, how does that apply to Danishes? Is there any alternative to buying a Danish? Can you rent them? Can you get them as part of a meal plan? Can you buy them on an app? Whatever it might be, I think when you consider that we all have limited budgets, I think it's important to get a bit creative about how do you get the most out of the budget that you have. And I think that's, again, the way to tie together what we've got here. 3 vendors and the librarian who are prepared to give their perspective on how to get the most out of the limited budget that you have. And with that, I'll turn it over to the panel. They're going to introduce themselves, and then we expect to have some time at the end for questions. And I think some of these folks may be willing to take questions while they're talking.
Thanks, Scott, from Reprint's desk. And I am indeed another Scott. I'm from Texas State University, which is between San Antonio and Austin. The reality today is that for most libraries, we have a shrinking materials budget. At my library, the majority of our entire library budget comes from the student fee. And since we've had a flat enrollment now for 3 years, that's basically like getting a cut. But at the same time, we're also under construction and we're investing in a new makerspace, a VR immersion studio, video and audio recording studios, and a GIS space, which we hope to open in January. Another reality is the epidemic of staff cuts at academic libraries and expanding job responsibilities. At my library, we've had I guess you'd call it the slow filling of staff vacancies, including in acquisitions. And our acquisitions department, we're also having a staff realignment as well. In addition, our reference librarians, who used to make the majority of all of our collection development decisions, they're spending more of their time doing outreach and workshops along with instruction now. So they're sort of on a different model where they're not on the reference desk. They're spending more time in the departments. And yet, to meet our faculty and student research needs, we need those high-quality collections, which are focused in some areas and comprehensive in others, for both our undergraduates and our graduate programs. So, for example, at my library, we have to support our expanded graduate programs and our PhD programs. And we want to work with reputable publishers and aggregators.
So to start, when you first started this project,
Libraries do both the single title and the bulk acquisitions. Our single title acquisitions may come from individual faculty requests. They may be requests based on a book review and say choice. They may be a search in a bibliographic system, or you may even do a deep dive in a catalog. These single title purchases, though, can be time-consuming and sometimes more costly. At my library, for our single title purchases, we use Gobi. And we actually go ahead and purchase a Gobi ebook cataloging service where we don't have to go back and put the links in different records. Bulk acquisitions may be in the form of a subject set from one publisher, a cross-disciplinary set from one publisher, a set from multiple publishers, like, say, Duty's Health Science List, an approval plan, an EBA plan. At my library, we've done mainly EBA from single publishers for multiple years, and bulk sets through aggregators such as Gobi and eBook Central. Bulk acquisitions can be more efficient because of the collection development, cataloging, and discovery. You may be able to do that at the set level. Notably, besides the efficiency though, one of the reasons we do the bulk acquisitions is we can maximize our return on investment. Because you can often pay less with more pricing options and models, including EBA models, consortia offers, aggregator offers, back year offers, end of fiscal year offers. I could probably name some more here. Let's see. Split over multiple year offers. I know I've done that. The closer it gets to the vendors into their fiscal year, the more they become creative. You may create your own offer. Okay. Let's see. DRM-free offers. I bet you've done that. Minimum spend offers. We've actually done dual platform offers, the same ebook on different platforms. Threshold offers. So this can maximize your ROI also because it can make it easier to determine trends. Say your cost per use in platform counter reports over time, if you have enough data on one platform that you can show trends. As well as it could make it easier to show measures of curricula support, award-winning title support, peer comparisons. And lastly, and I think most important, one of the reasons that we do these bulk purchases is because it opens up our conversations with our publishers and our aggregators about our specific needs at our campus. And now I'm going to turn this over.
Thanks, Scott. Hi, my name is John Ello. I'm the Director of Content Strategies for EBSCO Books. So that includes Gobi, which was formerly known as YBP, and EBSCO eBooks. My background is as an academic librarian. That's my training, that's what my job titles have been previously until I came to work for EBSCO and Gobi. I really found what Scott said very fascinating because that's what we hear when we talk to the library market. Shrinking staff, less time on collection development, but more content available. Do you want to move the slide? Thanks, Scott. So, one of the things that I always think about when I think of librarianship is efficiency and optimization. That may be surprising, but as Scott said, wearing multiple hats, you have shrinking or flat budgets, you have to make sure that you're being efficient with your money and optimize what you can do. E-collections and package deals are a great way to do that. So inside of Gobi, and everything I'm going to talk about here is kind of Gobi-centric, and this is the data I'm going to reference today. Gobi has a lot of platform partnerships and numerous e-collection offerings from multiple vendors, and we're continuing to grow that. So recently we added Brill e-collections, we've added Bloomsbury e-collections, we have additional vendors coming in the coming months. But we're doing this because our library customers are coming to us and saying, we would like to add e-collections as part of a tiered and kind of multi-option collection development policy. And one of the things I just want to touch on is, well, e-collections are great, and they're, again, an efficient way to acquire large packages of content. They're one way to acquire content, and they are not the universe of content. So what we find when we study all of these e-collection acquisitions that take place via Gobi is that once a customer purchases an e-collection, they usually acquire 20% more content from that publisher, title by title on top of it. So when they're buying the e-collection, they're not getting everything they need to meet their faculty and students' content needs. So they still have to acquire outside of those packages. So I want to stress that, well, again, e-collections are great. It's not the only way to acquire. You still need to do firm ordering. You still need to have a profile and an approval. You still need to make sure you're getting the title by title that may not be included in there. When we look at kind of what we consider the universe of academic content, we look at about 70,000 books a year, and we enhance the metadata around those titles. 62% of those 70,000 titles are available in ebooks. So right off the top, you're talking about 38% of titles that are not available in the e-package because they're print only. And they're very, again, when I'm talking 70,000, high value academic titles. So again, e-collections are great, but it's only one part of a tiered, structured collection development policy. If you want to click again, thank you, Scott. So when I'm talking about e-collections and Gobi, we listed the partners, and this is what we're looking at. It's really a very wide scope. We have over 2,500 e-collections, and again, those grow and are updated dynamically, constantly, with new partners coming on. In total, there's about 500,000 unique titles in e-collections, depending on what flavor you want to acquire on Gobi. Some of the collections, the largest ones we look at, are about 37,000 titles. Those are massive e-collections. Again, a lot of value, huge content, but high price. And there's some smaller ones too. I think I've seen some as small as 7 or 10. But again, the discounting is lower on them. So the higher the number of titles you talk about, the more discount you're going to get. And then the average is usually around 200 titles for an e-collection that we see. And these are across, again, all of those publisher platforms we just talked about. The other thing I wanted to talk about is EBA. EBA is evidence-based acquisition. Lots of different names that we hear it called. And it's something that is kind of newer in Gobi. The smallest EBA that we have is about 330 titles. The largest one is up over 127, it might even be 130,000 titles at this point. And it's really custom offerings, right? So we go to the library, we define what the parameters are, and then that library gets access, unlimited user, DRM free, to a pool of content for a full year. At the end of that year, the amount that they've pledged to spend for perpetual purchase is then overlapped with usage data and third-party proprietary metadata we create and generate at Gobi, and the recommendations of what titles to select are then purchased. And again, these are bulk acquisitions, so we're talking about an average of 24,000 titles in these EBA collections. So, to kind of loop back in about what we're talking about, bulk buying is good, right? Scott talked about a lot of the examples, right? Streamlines it for acquisitions. It saves money, but it's not the end-all be-all. It's part of a multi-tier approach to collection development. And that's about all I have. If there's any questions, I'm happy to take them as we get to, go ahead.
I'm just curious how that's that different than a DDA system. Because we have DDA facility.
Yep.
And what the plus and minus is different.
So it's a kind of a different flavor. So DDA comp is one we hear often. So if you think about it, a DDA is a pool of titles that are triggered at the point of use. For an EBA, what it is upfront money put down to get access to all of the content, unlimited use it DRM free. And then at the end of the year, you look at all of that usage data, and then we layer in the enhanced metadata, stuff like select level, stuff like audience level, aspecting, interdisciplinary terms, all of that. And then you make a decision based off the money that you pledged. So it's kind of a hybrid model between a subscription and a DDA. But again, it's a bulk purchasing option that kind of gives publishers a little bit more sustainability because they know they have the money locked in up front, where DDA is a very long-term play, right? They never know, there's no sustainable amount.
Thank you.
No problem. And again, when we hit the question and answer section, please, any additional questions you have, then now Sarah's up.
Great. I'm gonna stand just because I'm energetic. And sitting is a little bit hard for me right now. I also don't tend to use notes, but I have a little bit of a mush brain at the present moment. But my name is Sarah Tarpley, and I'm from Gale. I am Director of Academic Product Sales. I've been in a wide range of positions at Gale. Some of you I know. It's good to see you all. But I'm here today to talk a little bit about the publisher and aggregator perspective, because we are both. So Gale publishes our own content, and of course we aggregate third-party published content on our ebook platform, which was formerly known as Gale Virtual Reference Library, but we just released a new version of it, and we've just simply changed the name to Gale eBooks. You don't have to change your A to Z list, whatever you're comfortable with, but it's a great new platform. There's a lot of accessibility benefits to it. So as you can see, we've been publishing a wide variety of frontlist titles. These are some of the key frontlist titles that we've been publishing this year. So the business and culture of sports, very important given the women's national soccer team and their challenges with equality of pay. So it covers dynamic international topics of scope and things like women's national teams, labor equality issues, and so on and so forth. But you also see things that are trending, hot topics like LGBTQ experiences, disability experiences, theism, atheism, those kinds of topics. And we have ongoing series that we publish as well. Acclaimed, award-winning, one of my favorites is the Dictionary of Literary Biography. Phenomenal, academically focused work in the International Directory of Company Histories, along with our Gale Encyclopedia of Medical Titles. So we do a lot of our own publishing, and if you advance the slide one more time, you can see that we also employ a large group of content strategists or editors on staff. And a couple of the things that we do when we look to acquire third-party content on our platform is really look at what some of the trends are. So we look at kind of the search patterns on the Gale platforms in the academic segment. We figure out some of the key terms, key topics that are being researched. So we do look at those most searched terms and retrieve documents, things like that are consistently in the top are immigration, gun control, racism, kind of the social issue kind of resources. And then our content strategists actually inform that by layering in additional hot topics that are kind of more trending based on what's transpiring in the media. This is a good year for that. There's a lot of debate in regard to the upcoming presidential election and so on and so forth. But we also know that things like minority, diversity, and inclusion topics are very key to campus enrichment. So we focus on creating and selecting titles as such. When you take a look at something like our disability experiences title, we actually look to then sign content to our platform that complements it. So as you are looking to make a bulk acquisition, we're able to address that fairly easily by providing you with like content that complements also some of the material that we are publishing. So our sales team obviously can work with you. The Gale ebook platform is pretty flexible. As you're stating before, some acquisitions need to be single title acquisitions, and you have the liberty and freedom to do that on the Gale ebook platform. But also we can put curated collections like something around diversity and inclusion together and give you a full list to kind of choose from. You can choose the full list and acquire that full list of content, that full collection, and obviously the more you buy, more value, more discount, etc. But you also can really look at that list, interrogate it. If you're running different ebook platforms, you can back out the titles that you don't need. So we're really flexible with that. But we do look to kind of enrich our program. We have over 140 publishing partners. So we're always looking to kind of combine, looking at urgency of curriculum and things that are trending on topic. A couple of the current collections that are really doing well are the all-in. So we have a Gale Complete all-in package. So if you're someone that has maybe some gaps in some of the ongoing series that we've published, what this does is, to Scott's point, if you're under-resourced, you don't have someone to do that selection, it kind of brings your collection, your Gale collection, up to date. So you'll get all your gaps for International Directory of Company History filled, your Lit Crit series, filled, etc. And then we've also got some third-party bundles that are available too, where for a discounted price, obviously, you can add those to a Gale All-In Complete package and have a really well-rounded sort of grouping of titles. And then the third collection that is doing extreme importance and value on campus is it's called Cameron's Collection for Higher Education, which is a mental health focused collection. Just given the crises on campus as it relates to campus suicides, anxiety, challenges, all in an attempt to really aid and assist students privately through the library with a collection of mental health and well-being resources. So last slide, and I'll wrap here, is I just wanted to also recall, if you could click one more time here, the Gale ebook platform has a lot of really great customizability. Every single title we put on our platform, including the Gale content and the third-party published content, it's always been DRM free, and it all offers unlimited simultaneous use. So we actually don't offer, seats per title or anything like that. We also have the ability to translate all this content, download it in MP3 audio file content. We really kind of play up the utility of this platform for integration into learning management systems and course curriculum to fulfill supplemental educational needs. So it's a great resource to utilize and take advantage of. And like I said, a lot of coordination with some of the things that Scott has said already in terms of flexibility, in terms of addressing what your campus needs are today. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Nick, and he's going to wrap. Are you going to sit, Nick?
Yeah, I got it.
No worries.
Everyone, I'm Nick Newcomer. I'm the Senior Director of Marketing and Sales at Agile Global. Like many of you, I've worn many different hats with the company over my decade of tenure. So I have a pretty well-rounded perspective within many events. And like Scott mentioned earlier, one of the core conversations that I've been having almost with everyone I speak to is just being understaffed and not necessarily having the time and the resources to sit down through and do the individual title selections to improve the collection. So from my perspective as a publisher, I think Scott mentioned it too, is just identifying those reputable publishers that you would want to work with and fully investing into that publisher to save time and budget. Again, I think we all understand that the individual title selection and having to really source that is much more time consuming than what it would be just to kind of purchase a bulk collection. And I'm just going to try to drive down and give you a little bit of value proposition of what the bulk title purchasing is compared to the individual title selection. Okay, so everybody's pretty much touched on this, so I'm just going to gloss over real quick the single titles compared to the collections compared to the EDA and the BDA models. So I think John did a pretty good job of explaining that. All those are also available publisher direct, not necessarily through any of our partners. Here is a study published in 2015 that's still really good today. I mean, it's true. You can look at the different values between the individual firm orders compared to the bulk and compared to the PDAs. And what you'll see here is that those individual title selections are 6 times the cost of what it is to purchase the bulk. And again, if you identify a reputable publisher that you feel comfortable working with and you know that everything's timely, peer reviewed, and essential titles, you really should look into purchasing the full collection. It's going to save you time and it's going to save you budget. Of course, the time concept, if you have total plans to Adobe, obviously they'll fill that gap for you and help out with the ROI, but you're not going to get those cost savings if you don't do it with the bulk collection. Yeah, this slide here is actually taken from one of our customers that we looked within our system, and you can clearly see that over the years they've purchased almost 1,500 ebooks at a total value of almost $300,000. So compare that to purchasing 5,300 ebooks, which is our entire InfoSci Books collection published from 2011 to 2020 at sub $50,000. That adds right into that 6 times cost. You can see that investment up front, even though that publisher's reputable. Again, just make that investment up front and you're truly going to save resources there. And of course, you're going to save the time as well, because you make that purchase, you integrate it into your system, it's one shot, you're done. Scott mentioned some of those benefits as well. I'm going to bring the Danishes back in because I think we lost it a little bit. So just that wholesale mentality, you can clearly see here that you can spend $250 for one Danish, or you can spend the same amount and you can get 28 Danishes. I'm pretty sure that you can find 27 people to eat those Danishes to get your ROI back, because really you only have to eat one. And this is just showing those cost projections based on what it costs for the average title within the InfoSci Books collection, which actually I believe was $250, and you see $9 is part of the collection. I think the same could be said for research as well. Even if you're looking for particular subject areas and you're getting the full collection, you might be filling some gaps or getting some areas that you weren't necessarily looking for. But with research being so cross-disciplinary, I really think that just having this collection, having the chance for it to be utilized and discovered, it's just a benefit to the patrons, no matter how you look at it, especially when you look at the cost proposition. Slide. This is the same comparison, just looking at our journals, in InfoSci Journals collection. A customer has spent almost $65,000 on almost 90 subscriptions, where they've gotten 185 journal subscriptions to the InfoSci Journals collection at a little over $5,000. So the math is there. It's the same ratio that we were talking about in the books. And to be quite honest, that $5,350 for the full collection of 105 journals is about 6 individual subscriptions. So you're getting that many more journals. Next. Again, back with the Danishes, the same comparison. I don't have to really explain it. I just wanted to give a visual there, and that's kind of why we have these Danishes in. Next. There are other benefits of going in bulk and ordering the entire collection specifically, even if you're coming direct to the publisher or through any one of our distribution channels. Of course, we'll do space reclamation. We'll give you price for anything you already own, authoring, publishing services. We'll help you market and promote the fact that you have the content. We'll do title recommendations. And of course, if you take advantage of our platform features, no DRM, download the entire book, unlimited users, so your typical publisher platform features. Also, what IGI Global does is a little different. It's open access. Slide. 2 years ago, we kind of jumped on in front of the transformative open access APC read publish models. What makes us a little different too is that we're actually offering 100% waivers on APCs for a library that purchases and invests in one of our databases. So we'll take the entire fund that you invested, and when your faculty and staff publish and are accepted in one of our journals, we'll waive their APC fees at the amount that the fund is. Very different than what you're seeing from some of the other publishers where they're just offering discounts. Really unique. And again, I have literature here if anybody has any questions after the presentation that explains that a little bit more. I just didn't want to tie up the conversation with this because it's a little off. But one thing I do want to note, if you're looking at your return on investment, this actually doubles your return on investment when you go bulk, because not only are you getting the content at a discounted rate, but you're getting it set up very quickly and easily, but you're also getting open access publishing funds. That's it.
All right, thank you, panelists. So we've got a little bit of time left over for questions, and this is being videoed, so if you have a question, I'll either bring the mic to you or repeat it. Okay.
I'm really loud. How receptive are publishers to this these type of models, especially the EBA model that EBSCO guy was talking about. Because, you know, we all have heard about publishers not so happy about the ebook thing. I rely on ebooks very much for my university, so tell us a little bit about how the publishers are getting on board with this.
Would you want to take the first one?
So you start off by repeating the question for the sake of this.
So the question was, how receptive are publishers to the EBA model? And what we're saying is very. It depends on how we're able to streamline the workflow, right? So if you think about it from a publisher perspective, and I talk to a lot of publishers, it's a lot of work, right? You're talking about MARC records, you're talking about duplication control, you're talking about MARC deletes when you pull the stuff. It's a lot, right? So one of the things we've been trying to do with Gobi is how can we kind of be a value add there? How can we help the libraries? How can we help the publishers? Because EBA seems like it's here to stay. We have a number of publishers participating in it. We have a number of libraries doing EBAs today. And so far, they've been working really well. I know IGI does EBA. We haven't integrated through Gobi at this time because there's a heavy technological lift for each EBA, just like there is for e-collections or even title by title. But that's one of the things that we're trying to do is we're trying to continue to develop the offerings that we can give libraries. And the way we do that is we talk to you. So when I hear you say, I'm interested in this, I rely heavily on ebooks. DDA, you mentioned DDA, right,
Yeah, we've been using that for years.
as a form of acquisition. Is EBA a way to kind of augment, right? Because we're talking about a lot of TR collection development. So is an EBA, a DDA, an approval plan, pumping firm orders, however you want to acquire, can we provide that flexibility? So I think from the publishers that I talk to, they're very open to the idea.
I mean, you couldn't have said it any better. We're extremely open to it. I think on your end, though, if we go back to the ROI conversation, there is more work with going into EBA models compared to going for full bulk collection. But at the end, it's something that we're very interested in going direct. We'll do it eventually, hopefully through Gobi soon. Also, to a consortium, we're actually piloting something right now with Carolina Consortium. It's an EBA with group sharing of these OA model waiver fees. Again, I think Scott also went down a full list of different offerings and creative things that publishers are willing to do. We are absolutely, whatever we have to do, we can get creative to ensure that you're getting the ebooks and getting the content that you need to support your patrons. We're very much on board.
Scott's got something to
So one of the things I like to ask a publisher is, say they give me a price for EBA, it's maybe a $20,000 buy-in. I'll say, well, what if I did, say, a $5,000 buy-in over 4 years, and then at the end of those 4 years, then I get to pick the $20,000 worth of content that I saw. I had a history of being used over that time. I mean, we've definitely, used EBA with CRC and Springer and Elsevier. But I mean, there's a lot of publishers out there still who need to get on board, the little ones, and that's those relationships. I'd say, particularly some of the health fields have a ways to go, which I depend on Gobi working on some of those relationships too. So I'm really. I think somehow that getting the money up front reassures more publishers, and it reassures my library to be able to say, okay, I don't really care if this particular book was triggered at a certain time. I'm going to decide which ones I want to get at the end of the time period that we've agreed to.
And I just wanted to add that if you are interested in that model from Gale, it's not yet available in Gobi, but you can come to us direct and we'll definitely be able to work with you in that same fashion.
Yep, another question?
Yes, so this has to do with once you purchase the collection, so we use Alma, we activate all the collections in there, and this is kind of aimed at EBSCO. So a lot of times I've purchased collections from EBSCO and there is no equivalent in Alma. I have stood on my head, wiggled my toes, there's absolutely nothing there. And the solution becomes, we'll get the MARC records from us, which still means I have to load them and maintain them. And I won't buy them from you anymore.
I completely understand that pain, and I'm not trying to put blame or anything anywhere.
And I'm just.
Oh, no, and I'm
Yeah.
really glad you asked it. What I will say is that for any integration to work, it has to be a two-way integration, right? So we have to be able to call and respond from a data perspective.
Yeah.
And I think that's the problem right now. So what I would ask is that you voice this when you go to the user groups, and make sure people hear this, so that everyone can prioritize the work that's needed, so that the call and respond is automated. Because we've run into that as kind of a blocker at times.
It's a little different than that. So like I've purchased, so that's why I was gonna ask you, do you name your collections? Do you create your own, or do you get them from the publisher?
So for
Because-
e-collections, we get them right from the publisher. So we
Okay.
work in conjunction with the publisher. We have an automated feed that comes in that updates frequently. So into Gobi, and then once the acquisition takes place, we then send the fulfillment. So this goes back into that we're saying the call and respond. We need someone to acknowledge the receipt and then the response to turn on the content. So I think there's a,
I think I'm not saying it right. So I purchased a collection, say an Oxford collection from you.
in e-collection, yeah.
Yes, but when I go into Alma, that collection doesn't exist. Or it doesn't exist under the name that I purchased it. I can't find it. And I was literally told by an EBSCO rep, well, that's why you should get the MARC records from us.
Okay,
Which is an additional cost and an additional workload, but to make matters worse, if I want to add new titles that get added to that collection, as I do from some publishers, right?
Yep.
It's very hard for me to manage it, but not being able to find the collection in the first place,
yeah.
yeah. So I'm not
I,
too sure how the feed is working, if it's coming to me, if it's going to Ex Libris.
so Ex Libris has to receive the feed, name it, so that when we send the automation to them, they just turn it on.
Right.
So I think the disconnect that's happening,
They turn it on in Alma for me to go turn it on?
yeah, they have to make it available for you to turn on.
Okay.
And that's where the disconnect's happening today. So I'm happy to have a discussion after this and get in more detail, because I also don't love the response of just get MARC records from us. It should be a lot easier than that,
Yes.
right? The whole idea is an automated workflow for that, and we've gotten very good at that. So I definitely want to continue that conversation.
I have some commentary for you too from the publisher side about that as well, if you want to be afterward. I'm not gonna.
Oh, sure, yes.
It's kind of like that's
So, first of all, I want to say that, like I do at every conference, that EBSCO ProQuest thing is going to have to be brought down by a bunch of people complaining in a bunch of different ways. But in this particular case, I mean, and mind you, we only have one electronic resources librarian. What she often has to do is go both to the person that we bought it from and to the middleman, which would, in your case would be Oxford, and sometimes another person involved, and say, okay, we bought this on this particular date, and these are the titles that you're showing, and none of the feeds that you have delivered at this time have matched. So between yourselves, work it out and get back to us. And it is literally, that's what it's taken. But we generally don't give up, because if we make our own custom collection, then we've just heard the next library down there who bought this same thing. And so we're hoping, I mean, yes, they're technically supposed to be automated, and like you say, or under a different name, or is it the one that has the consortia's name before it? You know, maybe it's the Skelk bought the same package that we bought, and it has Skelk in front of it, but we didn't know that, or something like that. So yeah, it's very frustrating.
And I will just offer a word of peace that Gale ebooks are available in all 4 major discovery systems.
Including our third-party titles, yeah.
We're actually out of time, right? So, but it seems like
this group of people is very happy to answer questions, so if you've got more, it may not be on video, but, right, thanks everyone.